Today, we're so excited to be joined by Paul Klein, CEO of BrowserBase. Paul, it's great to have you.
I'm so excited to be here.
So let's just jump right in. For people who have never heard of BrowserBase, you've described what you're building as giving AI a web browser. Why is it so hard to run a browser in the cloud?
Yeah, a lot of the work that you and I do every single day, it happens on the internet. We're going on our computers, using our web browsers to click buttons, fill in forms, and try and accomplish some tasks. And if we want AI to work on our behalf, we need to give AI the same capabilities that we have as humans, and that means giving it access to a web browser. But we run our AI in the cloud, right? So we need to run a browser in the cloud too, but web browsers weren't designed to run in cloud environments. Someone can use an AI model and then connect it to the browser, but they still need the browser to run somewhere. It's often like a pretty performance intensive application. My Chrome with like 10 tabs is maxing out my little MacBook Air, right? You want all of your resources to be going to your models. And that's really where BrowserBase comes in to make things easier. We can do, hundreds of thousands, if not a million plus browsers at one time. If we can enable your AI to control a browser, and not a browser that's built for people, but a browser that's built for agents and built for being run in the cloud, it can actually do work on your behalf much more effectively.
Recently, we had the whole OpenClaw scandal where OpenClaw autonomously deleted one of the top meta AI safety researchers' emails completely autonomously. Walk me through what actually went wrong there and what it reveals about where browser agents are right now.
When I think about great agents, they have access to all the tools that we have, right? That's what makes them so powerful, is because they can do work on our behalf. But when they have all the access that we have, that means they can do all the same things we do, which can be kind of dangerous. It looks like that OpenClaw agent was trying to really slow down the safety research. So when we think about BrowserBase and how it plays into this ecosystem, we believe that you need a browser built for your agents. You shouldn't use your browser for your agent. You want a separate browser that has less access or is only given access when you allow it to. Your browser by default has access to everything. It has all your cookies, your passwords, your credit card information. You want a browser in a sandbox somewhere else that your agent can control to browse and request access, which you can give on a kind of case-by-case basis. I think that would have really helped. When we think about agents acting on our behalf, you shouldn't give them the keys to the kingdom on day one. You should give them incremental access as they prove that they're requesting the right things, and then take it away when you're done so they don't use it when you don't want them to.
So to clarify, are you saying that the browser itself should be sandboxed, the access to the browser that it has? Or are you saying that the problem here is not with the browser and the browser infrastructure, but more so that we need to put guardrails on the agent and it's on the agent layer?
I think it's both. I think that you should have your tools running in a sandbox with some sort of security guardrails. And I also think that, agent harnesses need to have good sorts of restrictions in terms of actions that can be taken. I think it all kind of comes back to no matter, what tool set you have, if the agent's going to do some crazy stuff and there's no restrictions, then you already have a problem there. So it's kind of a combination of great tools and great harnesses and good restrictions on both.
Continuing on the thread of OpenClaw, OpenClaw hit over 140,000 GitHub stars nearly overnight, and anyone can now run their own browser agent on a Mac Mini in their closet. So does that undermine the need for cloud browser infrastructure?
I mean, I don't know how many people in the world are going to go buy Mac Minis and set them up in their closet. Certainly not my parents or my non-technical wife. I think a lot of people are going to want to use AI and not buy additional hardware, and they see the value of browser agents because it's very useful. At the same time, I love the Mac Mini stuff. I think it's so cool that people are running their own little personal AIs, and I don't think this is a zero-sum market at all. I hope that if they want to scale up beyond just a Mac Mini, the cost of a browser-based plan is much cheaper than a Mac Mini, and you get a lot more features there, especially because BrowserBase is not just about the runtime of browsers. If our product was just running browsers, we'd be kind of a useless company. It's running browsers. It's also these really nice features around observability, about where did your agent go. You can see session replays of everything that happened, security features to make sure it doesn't browse places it shouldn't browse to, and also these kind of nice efficiencies to make sure your agent's actually browsing much faster than it could on your local Mac Mini browser. So altogether, I think our platform is much more than just running browsers. Therefore, I don't view a Mac Mini as my competitor. But also, on the grand scheme of things, I'm really gassed up about how much people are excited about building agents and letting AI do work on their behalf, because that's the core thesis of our business.
I love what you said about automations and how every person can do so much more. But in the same way, vibe coding unlocked every developer to be able to do so much more, code so much more. It also led to this counter movement of the war on slop. How are we going to scale up browser automations without the same side effect?
Yeah, when I think of like AI slop code, I think about how trust is really important for good programmers on GitHub. If Sean Wang, Swix, opens a PR on my repo, I know that he's thought about it quite a bit. But if some random person does, I might be like a little bit more like doubtful about them. The same thing is true for agents being run through BrowserBase. We can say that this bot, this agent, was verified by BrowserBase and is trusted by BrowserBase. And if we get reports that this agent is not behaving well, we can take away that trust. So I think this idea of identifying agents online is very, very useful to give them a passport, one might say, to know what they've been, what they're going to do, and make sure they're behaving well, because if we're putting our human trust in these agents, we need to make sure they're taking good actions online.
So a common take on BrowserBase is that what you're enabling leads to an internet overrun by bots. So scraping, spamming, manipulating.
Can you not say a common take? Don't be saying that.
Some of the detractors of BrowserBase will say.
Who says that? Yeah. Say my haters.
Some of your haters will say that what you guys are building is enabling an internet overrun with bots. So you said that your anti-bot philosophy is basically just don't lie, use a real browser. But what does that actually look like?
We are working with something that can be very powerful, but also used in the wrong way. Same with like LLM, same with voice AI and call spam. I think trust is the number one thing we have to work with for our customers and our partners. And when we partnered with Cloudflare last year on this new concept called WebBot Auth, which allows us to represent who our customers are to websites that they're browsing to, that really had our customer trust in mind. And we want to make sure we're the arbiter of good bots. Verified by BrowserBase is something that we're working on to enable you to know this person is trusted by BrowserBase, and you can ensure that they can actually access your website. BrowserBase needs to be a trust layer for our customers and for the websites we're browsing to show that we have good intent and you can know that we're not going to do anything bad. So I think that if we do our job wrong, we're a place of spam and we're making the internet worse. If we do our job right, we're going to be a trusted partner where, you know, if BrowserBase is browsing your website, that means that there's a lot of value coming to your product.
Twitter is notorious for being anti-bot scraping, and if you do any funny business, your Twitter account's gonna get banned unless you go directly through like the Twitter developer API and you're giving your browser, your agents, like all of your keys and your tokens. And so how does that look like when it scales, or what's how someone might think about using it through BrowserBase?
Yeah, well, you certainly shouldn't use BrowserBase to break any terms of service. That's something that's going to get you in trouble always with the provider, and every software provider has a right to enforce their terms of service. So in that example, we highly recommend using the API if that's what's for the terms of service. Now, I do kind of question ethically, like if I'm paying for some software, let's say I'm paying for Jira, and I want to automate Jira, and I don't want to use our API, why shouldn't my agent be able to act on my behalf as a human? I'm paying for it, and it's my data in that software too. So that's kind of like a deeper ethical question of like, is my agent a bot, or is it acting on behalf of me as an extension of my human self? I think those are questions I think about when I think about the future of actual like browsing online as agents. Like, why is it okay if I type it into ChatGPT that it does something for me, but it's not okay if I ask my agent that's my OpenClaw? I think those two kind of things, the preferential treatment between different vendors right now is a little bit confusing to me. But all in all, I do believe that as long as your agent is being a good citizen of the internet, if it's just booking one dinner reservation, not 100, I think it should be able to do that. It should be allowed to post maybe one tweet on my behalf, not scrape all of the tweets. And things like WebBot Auth, where we can actually identify agents and know if this agent is being a good actor or not, I think it's going to be really useful for us to police good and bad actors. And on BrowserBase, we don't allow any bad actor agents. We do a lot of work to make sure we're banning and removing any customers that are violating terms of service online.
You've compared the internet in the AI era to city streets built for human drivers that self-driving cars have to learn. But Google shaped how the internet was constructed by controlling how people browse it. What will BrowserBase's influence look like?
Yeah, I kind of always like the meme that nothing ever happens, right? Like, I think a lot of the future is going to be constrained by the systems that we already have. And, Dwarkesh always says that diffusion is cope. I disagree. I think that diffusion is going to be very painful because of all of this physical systems that we have in place. For BrowserBase, you kind of think of our company and you're like, well, why are they letting AI automate the internet as is? Isn't the internet going to be rebuilt for AI? Maybe one of my biggest flaws is that I'm just a very pragmatic person. And I think there's a lot more things in the world that we have to solve before AI can be everywhere. And the internet as is, websites as they aren't going to go away for at least 15 years, I have to imagine. A whole generation of change will happen. My mom is still going to go to google.com on her laptop for another 10 years, right? BrowserBase meets the world where it is. And I actually think that we will really help improve the diffusion of AI. The more that you can enable AI to use all the systems that we already have by working with the existing systems, you actually can diffuse it much faster.
We've been super excited to partner with BrowserBase to have Cerebras inside of Stagehand so you can autonomously surf the web with really fast inference. What type of browser bottlenecks does that alleviate?
Inference speed is the biggest bottleneck for fast browser agents. It's not just browsing to the page, like you can make that much faster. It's that you have to process all of this information, thousands of tokens, including the HTML on the page, all the information, all the previous pages you've seen. I think of browser agents as leveraged impact on humanity. If I can have 100 agents doing work for me, I have leveraged impact, especially if they're working not only as well as me, but faster than I possibly can. I think the biggest takeaway that I've seen on browser agents so far is that they're too slow. Everyone wants faster agents. And you know what sucks? People think it's my fault, but it's actually the inference. So this is going to show them that BrowserBase plus Cerebras gets the fastest agents possible, and it's easy to integrate using Stagehand, our open source framework, for allowing you to build the best browser agents.
If BrowserBase succeeds wildly, what does the internet look like in 5 years, and what is your biggest worry about getting there?
BrowserBase just has to own 1% of internet traffic to succeed wildly. Like if we just have 1% of all the internet traffic going through BrowserBase or generated by BrowserBase, it will be a $100 billion plus company. So it kind of goes to show that even if we're wildly successful, we will still be a small blip on the internet universe. So I think there's still going to be a lot of the same in the next 5 years of browsing. There's still a lot of the web that still exists. You and I have only visited 10 to the negative 20 the amount of websites there are online. So it's just really exciting to see what could happen in the future in the next few years.
Paul, it was great having you here today, and I look forward to seeing what people build.